It's 5:47 in the morning. Greg is already at his desk. He's 56 years old. He has $1.6 million in his accounts, and he is answering an email that does not need an answer. There's a yellow sticky note on the corner of his monitor. It has a number written on it. The number is crossed out. Above it, a bigger number. That one's crossed out too. Above that, a third number, circled twice. Greg looks at it every morning the way some people look at the horizon. Here's the strange part. Greg already has enough. He passed enough years ago. His portfolio earns more in an average year than he spends. He could have walked out the door at 50 and never run out of money for the rest of his life. Instead, he's been getting up at 5:47 for 6 more years to chase a number that keeps moving. This is the mistake. It's not flashy. Nobody makes a documentary about it, but it quietly steals a decade of freedom from people who already won the game and never noticed the game was over. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to spot it in your own life and the one number that ends it. Let me show you how the trap gets built, because Greg isn't dumb. Greg isn't reckless. Greg's problem is that he's too good at the one thing that got him here. For 30 years, Greg ran a single program in his head. More is safer, save more, invest more, hit the next number, and it worked. That mindset took him from broke at 26 to a millionaire at 49. The discipline was real. The results were real. But here's what nobody warns you about. The exact instinct that builds the first million is the instinct that traps you after it. More is safer has no off switch, so the finish line moves every single time you get close to it. When Greg had $200,000, a million felt like freedom. When he hit the million, a million suddenly felt thin. So the target quietly became $1.5 million. He hit that too. Then it was 2. The sticky note kept getting rewritten. Always upward, never down. Write this down because it's the whole video in one line. The goalpost never stops on its own. You have to stop it. And this is the part that breaks people. The wealthier you get, the scarier stopping feels. That sounds backwards. It isn't. Look at the numbers. Charles Schwab runs a survey on this every single year. In 2025, Americans said it takes $2.3 million to feel wealthy, but only $839,000 to feel comfortable. Same people. 2 completely different numbers. And here's the tell. 63% of them said it takes more money to be wealthy than it did just 1 year earlier. The target moves even when the money doesn't. The fear doesn't shrink as the pile grows. It grows with the pile. There's even a name for it now, money dysmorphia, and roughly 1 in 3 Americans say they have it. They look at a perfectly healthy financial picture, and their brain still flashes the words, not enough. So Greg keeps working, not because he loves the work. He stopped loving it years ago. He keeps working. Stopping feels like jumping out of a plane and trusting a parachute he's never actually used. He's spent 30 years packing that parachute. He just can't bring himself to pull the cord. Now watch what the delay actually costs him, because this is the number that should make you uncomfortable. The version of Greg who runs the math at 50 and downshifts, who cuts back to part-time and lets the portfolio carry the rest, gets 15 extra years of freedom while his body still works, while his wife still wants to get on a plane and go somewhere. The version of Greg who keeps chasing the sticky note gets a slightly bigger number on a headstone. Same money, roughly. Completely different life. And the difference between those two men isn't income. It's one calculation, one that Greg never sat down to do. And I'll tell you why this one isn't theoretical for me. A few years back, I caught myself doing the exact thing Greg does. I hit a goal I'd been chasing for years, and the second I got there, I moved the line. Same week, I didn't celebrate it. I didn't even pause. I just stared at the next number, and then one night it hit me. I could keep dragging that line forward until I'm 70 and never once feel the thing I was supposedly working for. That was the moment I stopped just living this and started studying it, because here's what I've learned watching people climb. The skill of building wealth and the skill of actually using it are 2 completely different skills. Almost everyone teaches the first one. Almost nobody teaches the second. So let's do the calculation Greg never did. Here's the reframe that changes everything. Freedom was never a net worth number. It was never a million or whatever's written on your sticky note. Freedom is a relationship between 2 numbers, what your money earns and what your life costs. That's it. The day The first number passes the second one, you're free, whether you feel it or not. Financial planners have a name for that day. The crossover point, the year your portfolio earns more than you spend. Net worth is the wrong scoreboard. A guy with $3 million who spends $200,000 a year is less free than a guy with $1 million who spends $35,000. The pile doesn't set you free. The gap between what comes in and what goes out does. So here's the actual math, and it takes about 10 seconds. Take what your life truly costs in a year, not your salary, your spending. Multiply it by 25. That's your freedom number. It's the 4% rule, built on decades of market history. Withdraw about 4% a year, adjust for inflation, and the money tends to outlive you. Greg's life costs $48,000 a year. 48,000 times 25 is $1.2 million. That was his real finish line, not the million, not the 2 million on the note, 1.2. He crossed it at age 50. He has been a free man for 6 years and didn't know it because he was staring at the wrong number the entire time. Let that one sit for a second. The mistake was never that Greg didn't have enough. The mistake was that he never calculated what enough was, so he could never see the moment he passed it. An undefined goal can't be reached, not because it's too far away, but because it has no location. And that's not a money problem. That's a math problem Greg refused to do because some part of him was afraid of the answer. Now your brain is already arguing, but healthcare, but a crash, but inflation. Those are real, and the math already handles them. The 4% rule was stress tested through the Great Depression, the inflation of the 1970s and 2008. It assumes bad years because they come, and we know how this story actually ends. The Employee Benefit Research Institute found that more than 3 in 4 retirees agree they can afford to spend freely, and nearly half still won't because they're terrified of running out. About a third reach their mid-80s with every dollar of their original savings untouched. They didn't run out of money. They ran out of permission. And here's the quiet part. Most people don't even need to fully retire. The trap isn't work or don't work. It's believing it's all or nothing. Greg didn't have to quit at 50. He had to stop being the engine. He could have gone part-time, taken the lower stress role, said no to the promotion that ate his weekends, and let the portfolio keep doing what it was already doing without him. There's one more thing quietly pushing Greg's finish line away. Every raise he ever got, his spending crept up to meet it. Bigger house, nicer car. Economists call it the hedonic treadmill, and here's why it matters. Every extra $10,000 a year you spend doesn't just cost you $10,000. It raises your freedom number by $250,000 because you have to fund it 25 times over. Spending is the most expensive number in your financial life. The person who keeps their expenses flat reaches freedom years ahead of the person earning twice as much and spending all of it. So what do you actually do with this? 3 things, and they're simple. First, calculate your real number, annual spending times 25. Write it down somewhere you'll see it. Make it concrete, because a number you can see is a number you can reach. Second, find your crossover. Look at what your investments throw off in a normal year. The day that passes your spending, your job becomes optional. That's not quitting, that's leverage. That's the difference between showing up Monday because you want to and showing up Monday because the mortgage owns you. Third, and this is the hard one, give yourself permission to stop the goalpost because it will not stop on its own. There is no amount of money that makes the fear disappear. You don't out-earn it, you out-decide it. At some point, you have to look at the number, admit you've crossed it, and choose to live. Greg's still getting up at 5:47. But last week, something cracked. His neighbor, same age, half the net worth, retired, threw a party in the backyard, and Greg stood there holding a drink, doing the math in his head for the first time in years. The next morning, he looked at the sticky note, the crossed out numbers, the one circled twice at the top, and for the first time in 30 years, he picked up a pen and wrote a different number underneath. Not bigger, smaller. The real one, 1.2 million, the number he passed 6 years ago. Whether he actually walks out that door, I honestly don't know. But for the first time, he knows where the door is, and that's the whole thing. The million was never the mistake. Chasing a finish line he refused to define, that's the mistake that keeps people working forever. So before you go, don't ask yourself how much you need to be rich. Ask the quieter, harder question, what does my life actually cost, and have I already passed the number that sets me free? Only about 29% of workers over 55 even have a plan for how they'll pull their money out. Almost nobody runs the number. They just keep rewriting the sticky note, so run it. And if this made you look at your own number a little differently, subscribe, because making this stuff obvious is the entire reason this channel exists. I'll see you in the next one.